Good morning friends, welcome back to Panika Tutorials. In this video, I want to discuss the strategies for handling the deadlock. Totally we have 4 strategies such as deadlock ignorance, deadlock prevention, deadlock avoidance, deadlock detection and recovery. So all these 4 strategies I will discuss in detail for you. So I request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. So first let me discuss about the first strategy, deadlock ignorance. This is the one of the popular strategy to handle the deadlock. Meaning is that whenever there is a deadlock, we cannot do anything. Am I right or wrong? So if, and one more thing is that deadlock will occur rarely. So if deadlock occurs rarely, why should we keep more concentration on that one? So usually the Windows operating system and the Linux operating system follows this strategy. Deadlock will occur rarely, once in a 2 years or 3 years, so better ignore it. Is it clear? So that the operating system can concentrate on other things, because if we have kept more restriction to avoid the deadlock, then the performance of the system may degrade it. So better to ignore the deadlock. Suppose let's take that a deadlock happens in your computer, your system is not responding. Is it clear? Then what you will do? You will restart your system. Is it clear? So we are ignoring the deadlock. Is it clear? The next one is the deadlock prevention strategy. Now we have discussed the 4 necessary conditions a deadlock can happen. What are the 4 necessary conditions to be there for a deadlock? One is the mutual exclusion, and another one is the hold and wait. Is it clear? Then next one is no preemption, and the next one is circular wait. Am I right or wrong? These are the 4 necessary conditions for a deadlock. Now, what is the first one? Mutual exclusion. Mutual exclusion means a resource cannot be shared among multiple processes. Let's take that you have a printer. That printer you cannot share with multiple processes at a single instant of time. Is it clear? Are you able to understand it or not? So that is what the mutual exclusion. If you remove the mutual exclusion concept, meaning is that multiple processes such as process P1, process P2, process P3 can access the resource at a single instant of time. Now what will happen? Process P1 will do something printing, and process P2 will printing something in parallel. Process P3 will also print something. So there will be a lot of confusion. Am I right or wrong? So mutual exclusion, if you disable, then few resources such as printer, other resources cannot be shared with multiple process at a single instant of time. So mutual exclusion may not be possible. Is it clear? Because these are the 4 necessary conditions for a deadlock. If we disable any one condition, then deadlock will not happen. So deadlock prevention can be done. So prevention is better than cure. Am I right or wrong? So how can we prevent the deadlock is that if you disable any one of the condition, then deadlock can be preempted. Now mutual exclusion cannot be disabled. Is it clear? Now we will see hold and wait can be disabled or not. How? What is the hold and wait meaning is that, let's take that we have 2 resources such as R1 and R2. 1 unit of resources are there. Process P1 and process P2 is there. Process P1 has the resource R1. To complete its task, it is requesting for the resource R2. See the arrow towards the process meaning is that the resource has been already allocated to the process P1. The arrow towards the resource is the process is requesting for the resource R2. Now the resource R2 already allocated to the process P2. Now process P1 needs the resource R1. Is it clear? To complete its task. So now process P1 is holding the resource R1 and it is waiting for the resource R2. Similarly, process P2 is holding the resource R2 and it is waiting for the resource R1. So it is handling one resource, or it is holding one resource. To complete its task, it is waiting for the another resource. Then this one will call it as hold and wait. Is it clear? Now if you want to disable the hold and wait strategy, the meaning is that process P1 cannot take the resource R1 if resource R2 is not there. Meaning is that, suppose let's take that process P1 want to complete its task, it needs the resource R1 and resource R2. Now, if both the resources are there, then only process P1 should take and start the work. Are you able to understand? Let's take that you want to take a printout. You need the desktop and you need the printer to perform it. Am I right or wrong? Now, if you have desktop and printer, then only take both of them and complete your task and then release the resource. But let's take that you have desktop and the printer is with someone. Then you don't take the desktop. Is it clear? Are you able to understand? If you does not take the desktop and printer with someone, then obviously the person who is having the printer will take the desktop and he will take the printout and he will complete a task and then he will release the printer and the desktop. Remember one thing, let's take that a particular process is having the resource R1 and resource R2. Once it complete its task, it will release the resources. So a process will request for the resource. Once it has been allocated, it will use it. Once it performance means the task is completed, it will release the resource. So request, use, release will be done by the process for a particular resource. Is it clear? So, but what is the problem with this one? A process should know its future requests also. What is the request it needs to do, or what are the resources it needs to complete all the tasks? So that will be little bit difficult. So hold and wait is not practically possible, and mutual exclusion is also not practically possible for few resources. Now, no preemption. No preemption means now process P1 is having the resource R1 and it is waiting for the resource R2. Similarly, process P2 is holding the resource R2 and it is waiting for the resource R1. So if process P1 have the resource R1 and process P2 needs that resource R1 to complete its task. Now, some operating system or man in middle or some instruction, if it preempts the resource R1 from the process P1 and gives to the process P2, then process P2 can complete its task. Am I right or wrong? So, no preemption meaning is that the resource whatever the is having with the particular process should not be released by someone. Am I right? If we disable means preemption is possible, then deadlock will not happen. Is it clear? Suppose let's take that person P1 is using the printer and he is printing some document. He want to print 100 pages of a document. Now he has printed the 50 pages right now and someone has taken the printer from him. Then he cannot perform its task. This is not fair. Am I right? If you do the preemption, then this problem will happen. Am I right or wrong? A process needs 5 units of CPU to complete its task. Am I right? When it is performing 2 units and someone has preempted it and it does not given the CPU back to the process P1 and the process P1 was never went to the running state, it is not correct. Am I right or wrong? Is it clear? So, no preemption cannot be disabled. If you go for the preemption, then performance will degrade it. Is it clear? So, among the 4 conditions, mutual exclusion, hold and wait, and no preemption cannot be disabled. Now, we will see the circular wait. Now, the circular wait is that process P1 is there, process P2 is there, process P3 is there, resource R1, resource R2, resource R3. Now resource R1 is with the process P1 and it is requesting for the resource R2. Now resource R2 is with the process P2 now and it is requesting for the resource R3. Now resource R3 is with the process P3. Now process P3 wants the resource R1. So process P1 is waiting for the process P2 to release the resource R2 to complete its task. Similarly, process P2 is waiting for the process P3 to release the resource R3 to complete its task. Similarly, process P3 is waiting for the process P1 to release the resource R1 to complete its task. So, this is a circular wait. Process P1 is waiting for process P2, process P2 is waiting for process P3, now process P3 is waiting for the process P1. So this is a circular wait. Now how can you disable the circular wait? The circular wait can be disabled by giving a sequence numbers to the resources. So you will give the numbers to the resources in the increasing order, resource 1, resource 2, resource 3. Now how it can be disabled is, now let's take that process P3 has requested for the resource R3 and it has been allocated. Now if it wants to request, it should request for resource number greater than 3, not less than 3. Meaning as that it can request for resource R4, resource R5, resource R6. But however, it should not request for the resource R2, resource R1, because process P3 has requested for the resource number R3 and it has been allocated. Now it want to request any resource, the request number should be R4, R5, R6. It should not request for the resource R2, resource R1. However, in this scenario, process P3 is requesting for the resource R1. So that's why it is a circular wait. If you disable that one, then deadlock can be preempted. Are you able to understand it or not? So the circular wait is practically possible. Are you able to understand it or not? Mutual exclusion, hold and wait, and no preemption disabled is not practically possible. However, circular wait is practically possible. So this is about the deadlock preemption. I hope you have understood. Now let me discuss about the deadlock avoidance strategy. Then I will discuss about the deadlock detection and recovery strategy. Is it clear? Now the deadlock avoidance mean, let's take that you have three processes such as P1, P2, P3. Are you able to understand? Now process P1 needs the particular resource X of some units of time. Means some units, not time, sorry for it, because I thought it is a scheduling algorithm. In scheduling algorithm, we'll say 2 units of CPU time, 3 units of IO time, like that. But here process P1 needs a resource type of X of 2 units. Is it clear? Now, if you have the resources, if you give that resource X to the process P1, then you need to check whether the system is safe or not. Whenever we are allocating a particular resource, suppose let's take that you have resource R1, 5 units are there. Now, some process P1 is requesting for the 5 units of resource R1. So you need to look at, okay, when you allocate the resource R1 5 units to process P1, whether the system is safe or not. Is it clear? So whenever you are allocating any resource to a particular process, you need to check whether this allocation will leads to the safe or it leads to the unsafe. If it leads to the safe state, then it is not a problem. If it leads to the unsafe, then you don't allocate that particular resource to the process P1. Is it clear? So that is the way you can avoid the deadlock. We will discuss about the Banker's algorithm in the coming videos to avoid the deadlock. Is it clear? Now let me discuss about the deadlock detection and recovery. Let the deadlock happen and you detect the deadlock. Then you recover from the deadlock. This is reality. Am I right? Let the deadlock come. I will detect that there is a deadlock. Okay. Then I will recover from the deadlock. So this is one more popular strategy than the deadlock ignorance. So these are the two strategies widely popular. I hope you have understood the 4 strategies for handling the deadlock, such as deadlock ignorance, deadlock prevention, deadlock avoidance, deadlock detection and recovery. If you still have any doubts related to these concepts, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.